Well, hello everybody. This is Dr. Novak again. Welcome to my channel. If this is the first time you are here, this is the mystery plant. Nobody knows the name of it. All over the internet, people are buying it, saying how it doesn't work, it dies, it blah, blah, blah. We all know the routine. Nobody can figure out what the name of it is, except me on my channel. Bacopa monnieri. That is the name of the plant. The mystery plant has now been solved. So, in other words, it has a common name, and that common name, you're going to love this. The common name for the plant is honeywort. Okay, the mystery now has been solved. It is nothing more than honeywort. So all the people who are out there scaring everybody, you got to be careful with it. Oh, if it goes into the wild, all the experts out there. Bacopa monnieri, they didn't know it was Bacopa monnieri. And plain words, it is a common plant in our hobby for ever since I was a child. So it's been in the hobby 50, 60, 70 years, whatever. It's nothing special. All they're doing is selling the seeds instead of selling you the complete plant like you see here. But that's it. That's the mystery plant that nobody could figure out. And that's the reason you're watching my channel, because I finally get down to the nitty-gritty. Once it flowered, then I looked at the flower and figured out, okay. They sell it, by the way. If you want to buy Bacopa monnieri on the internet, you can go to Amazon, just put in honeywort, Bacopa monnieri, and guess what? You'll come up and they sell it in bunches if that's what you want to buy it. Or you can buy it in seed form. So I thought I'd bring this up. Mystery plant is now solved. That is the name of it. Nobody could figure it out. Really, everybody, hydrophilia, it's this, all these experts out there can't figure it out. But you get somebody like me who can get it to flower, and now we can figure out what it is. So if you want to buy this plant, the name of it is Bacopa monnieri. You can go out there and you can buy it, otherwise known as honeywort. That's the whole thing. A lot of these plants disguise themselves that they are aquatic plants, and there's like 70 to 100 different varieties of Bacopa that you can buy out there that all are aquatic, but they can live terrestrial. And some of these terrestrial plants, if you don't know that they can also be aquatic, okay, I think I did some videos on how a lot of greenhouses and stuff keep their mouths shut, so you don't know that that is a Bacopa monnieri. Now you can see by the flower, that's what it definitely is. Problem has been solved. We now know what the plant is. We can now move on. Okay, now let's get into what the video is really about. The one thing I wanted to bring up in this video was that I watched a video by a guy named Bentley Pascal, and he did a video, I'll leave a link below in case you want to watch it, called Secretly the Best Filter, Why the Undergravel Filter Rocks. And it's a nice video, and normally I do not leave comments on people's videos. In other words, if I do watch another person's videos, I don't leave comments, okay? I normally just watch them and keep things to myself. But on something like this, Secretly the Best Filter, Why the Undergravel Filter Rocks, he gives out information about undergravel filters. Okay. and why he thinks they're the best filter out there. It's kind of a misnomer is what he's talking about. The problem is, and I don't really want to badmouth anybody, which I'm not going to badmouth. I'm just going to correct things that he said that are making the same mistakes they made in the 70s and 80s and why the filter went to the wayside. The undergravel filter, which basically is a plenum because most undergravel filters have a void underneath them. That void is the plenum. Okay, so whether it's a ½ inch or an inch, it still becomes a plenum. Okay, undergravel filter is just the name of the plates that manufacturers have made. Some of the things he talks about are very good, but some of them are just incorrect. And what he talks about is some of the things that you can do with undergravel filters and how to use them. Unfortunately, he's not that old. So by the time undergravels were phased out, he probably wasn't even born yet. Or if he was a baby. So he wouldn't know why undergravel filters went by the wayside, because some of the things he mentions in his video is the reason undergravel filters went by the wayside. And some of those reasons is that when undergravel filters were first made, they were made correctly. They were a plate, had a little plenum underneath there, a plate, had a little ½ inch tube, maybe it was 6 inches long, and a bubbler, and that's all they used. That's how it was originally designed. As time went on, which I mentioned before, they changed that. They changed the plate structure. They now changed the ½ inch riser tube to a 1 inch one, which means it will give out a lot more. A ½ inch tube will only put out with a bubbler about 20 gallons per hour. But a 1 inch can put out 50 gallons an hour or more. And by this time, they went away with the bubbler to air stones, and then from air stones to pumps. But you have to be very cautious about pumps and how he said to connect it up. He mentioned that you can connect it up to a canister filter. Not recommended. Hang on to back filters. Not recommended, because you will be pulling too much water through the plenum. A plenum only needs between 20 gallons per hour or less water to be brought through it. It's very slow moving. These are the mistakes they made. When Chaubert came up with the plenum, it was basically an undergravel filter without a bubbler or any means of moving water. He depends on the Chaubert plenum to go with convection means or diffusion of fluids or some other means like that, electrical charge. And as we know, that the aquarium itself is positively charged, or basically positively charged. We also know that at plenum, the substrate becomes negatively charged. It becomes that. Whether or not you use kitty litter or not, it will become negatively charged. If you add kitty litter, it's just a plus. You already have a negatively charged substrate. You understand? It's already negatively charged. It's already going to start attracting ions to it, such as ammonia. If you attract ammonia out of the aquarium, you are not completing the nitrogen cycle, because then it attracts it. Bacteria utilize that ammonia right away before it is broken down into nitrates. That is one way how a plenum tries to work, by utilizing the nitrates and phosphates, because the bacteria, the facultative bacteria, steal oxygen from nitrates and phosphates. Okay? So that's how you make denitrogen, N2 gas. So, understanding this, that means it has to flow slowly. You're moving fluids slowly. Now, Chaubert's method was made because of the fact of undergravel filters kind of went by the wayside, but they misused them. If you connect these up to high-powered canisters or hang-on-the-back filters, they will not work correctly. They will work the way they did in the 80s, and you will be very disappointed in them, and you will eventually stop using them, just like people did in the 80s when they finally stopped using them and started putting the gravel directly on the bottom. And this is the reason why. That's why I'm trying to show you through experimenting. When I did the research on the anoxic filter, looking at anoxic conditions to utilize harmful nitrogen that affects fish like koi and their colors, and phosphates that promote algae. With that, I started looking into what happened to that under gravel filter. What happened to it? Why is it we don't use it? And then I found out, well, it's because we misused it. That is the total reason. We misused something that was good, and therefore they got rid of it. Think about it. Think about what I just said. What is objects that people misuse that today people want to get rid of? Guns, right? Guns don't kill people. People kill people. They use guns as an instrument to kill people. Therefore, you got people, oh, we have to now get rid of guns. Well, because they're being misused. Okay, that's the point with the under gravel filter. If it is misused, people got rid of it. So I know what he's doing, but if he was in those time periods of the 60s and 70s and 80s, if he lived in those time periods, he would have seen the development of the under gravel filter, what they did to it, and how it failed. You don't want to use it as a filter. Let's say you connect up to a canister and the canister is going, 250 gallons per hour or even 150. You don't want the substrate to become a junk filter, collecting all kinds of junk out of the water. You got a canister filter, you need to divert it. And I've explained that, how you divert the water that's coming into the canister filter. So a little bit comes from the plenum and most of it comes from the inside of the aquarium itself. So the canister, when it does run, or a hang on the back, basically most of the water it is sucking in is coming from the aquarium, not going through an under gravel. That is moving very slow. You will get stuff into any substrate, whether it's sand or anything, it will eventually migrate with dirt and detritus and everything else. But hopefully what you're trying to achieve is that gets broken down into mum, which is inert. In other words, it won't affect anything, your pH, your anything. All it will be is another substrate for bacteria to grow on because it is inert. The plenum itself, in the understanding of when you put a substrate at the bottom of an aquarium, the plenum itself has a higher redox that if you put your substrate at the very bottom, where the redox may be going into negative millivolts, and you don't want that. You want your redox to remain in positive millivolts because it will contain oxygen. When your redox starts going into negative millivolts, like if you deal with ponds and fresh waterways and stuff, like limnologists do, you will find out that you will have a dead pond. And that's exactly what winds up happening, is the redox goes the opposite way in negative millivolts, and you wind up becoming, you have an ecosystem that's no longer an ecosystem. And therefore, you now have to straighten it up. One way, of course, of straightening it up is you would put air stones or something at the very bottom of the lake or pond and get oxygen and get fluids to move from the bottom to the top and get the oxygen so redox can raise. What our mistakes were, is what I'm saying. So it's a good video. It gives a lot of good information. And I'm sure a lot of people will say he's wrong or whatever. But as far as biological filter goes, it is all you need. You have your whole tank bottom as biological filter. That was the whole point of designing this. It was all designed off of sewage treatment facilities or wastewater management facilities where they clean our wastewater. It was all designed off of that. Okay, so we're just using that of what wastewater management was. The Schober Plenum, designed off the same principle, but fluids move so slowly through diffusion. And we know that through osmosis or diffusion, fluids are moving very, very slowly. When I told you to add, like a tubing to it just to move the water, we want to make sure that fluids are moving from underneath there to keep the redox high enough so you have an exchange and you have the right kind of bacteria growing. Remember, you want dissimulative denitrification to happen. If it goes too low and oxygen then becomes depleted from anoxic conditions to anaerobic conditions, then you have a problem. And then you're going to cause fermentation and you're going to cause a bacteria that creates ammonia. So some people get fooled and say, oh, it's consuming my nitrates, but it's making a more deadly, byproduct of ammonia. That's just the way it works, no matter what anybody says. So you don't wind up with a problem. Another thing is, in the year 2024, the anoxic filtration system in Plenums, the name is going to be changed to the, I'm changing the name to the Aquarium Specialist, WONK. The name will be the Aquarium Specialist. It will no longer be anoxic filters and Plenums, otherwise known as WONK. If you don't know what the word WONK means, W-O-N-K, it means a specialist. Okay, that's what the word WONK means, W-O-N-K. Look it up if you want to find out what exactly it means. But anyhow, that's what the word WONK means. But I'm changing it to the Aquarium Specialist because I specialize in my videos more into something that's not talked about in other channels, which is bacteria, how it works, why it works, how we utilize it to have a great aquarium, and how you can utilize your bacteria to keep fish alive and everything else. Because if you look at a lot of aquariums, and be honest with yourself, they barely have any fish in it. Barely. And I don't want an aquarium that has barely any fish in it. And I mean, we're talking good-sized aquariums that barely have any fish at all in them, when they put the substrate at the bottom. And you're talking about aquariums that need a lot of plants. So I specialize in trying to show people that you don't need a lot of plants. You just do it correctly and you'll have your biological filter. Your sponge filters will be obsolete then. You'll only need a canister filter or hang on the back filter for mechanical means, which you can clean as often as you want. One other thing, you may want to stay tuned. I just got this in. I'll do a review on it. I want to look at it. This is an aqua aquarium power driven biochemical sponge filter. And I haven't even opened it. So I'll open it up. We'll look at it. But the reason I got it is because it has a motor here. And I'm sure this motor can be turned down or made, but it has an uplift tube. And the reason I got this is I'm going to use it and show you for those people who do not want bubbles in their aquarium because of noise. You may want to put it in the bay, and this thing's going to be dead quiet. And I'll show you what it looks like. So you may want to subscribe and click on the bell and everything so you know when I come out with this that you want to watch. And I think this would be good because a lot of people will be interested in saying, hey, I don't like all the bubbling noise in my aquarium, or I don't want the bubbles to come up to the top and splash. And if I have hard water like I have, calcium, you start getting a big calcium buildup. So I'm going to check this out. I'll let you know how it is. I'll open it, let everybody see. It was only $29 off of Amazon. You know, big deal. You spend that much, like I said, on a pump and airline tubing, and you need a check valve, and you know, so it's not going to use any more electricity than an air pump. In fact, does it even say how many? I think if I saw this right, it only uses something like 3 watts. So that's like a small air pump. Okay, so until next time, this is Dr. Novak. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. And let me know if you think that me changing the name to the Aquarium Specialist of my channel is more appropriate. Maybe you may think of another name. You know, leave the sarcastic comments out of what name I should be. Because I could see people, you know, making sarcastic comments. But I think for 2024, the Aquarium Specialist will be more appropriate for my channel than the anoxic filter and plenums. Okay, because I do talk about a lot more than just anoxic filters and plenum. So until next time, happy fish keeping, and thank you for watching.